guys, Melissadunn here with the Melissadunn Realty team, and today we're doing our new construction 101 class, and we're joined today by Jarrod Moore of Highland Homes. Hello, Jarrod.
Hey there, how are you, Melissa? Hello,
I'm
everyone out in the Zoom land.
I'm good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about Highland Homes.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I'm very honored to be your new home specialist. So hopefully I don't let you and everybody watching this down, right?
You're fantastic.
I am Jarrod Moore. I work for Highland Homes here currently in Inspiration. I may have a little temporary gap because we're selling homes so fast. I might be out of this phase for a little bit until the new phase opens up. So currently we've got a little bit left to help your clients, and we'll be going into another phase called Peace Village in 2021. I've been with Highland Homes for a few years. I've been in new home sales, a little over 7 years now. Prior to that, I was in the retail world, and boy, I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore. So glad to be here selling homes.
Awesome. Okay, well, so let's jump into the questions. If you didn't know from our intro video at the beginning of the course, I am new home certified. So I love helping my buyers buy pre-existing or new construction properties. New construction properties, though, carry with them a different set of, what do we want to say, Jarrod? A different set of requirements, kind of different time frames, pros and cons, I think. And so I wanted to jump in and we'll kind of cover some of the more important pieces in regards to new construction, okay?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so first question, why does somebody actually even need a realtor if they're considering buying a new home?
You know, I get that question a lot, and you know, typically for most people, this is the biggest purchase you're ever going to make, right? A lot of money, you're going to live in this, you're going to create memories in this home, right? So why wouldn't you have a realtor with a new home when you absolutely have a realtor with a pre-owned home? Doesn't make sense to me, right? On the new home side, really, I think some of the realtors, some of the biggest benefits of having a realtor is to help guide you through this process, right? If you're building, it's a 6 to 7 month process. What are some things that I should add to the home and shouldn't I add to the home? You know, options, upgrades. You're still shopping for areas. You're still shopping for schools. A realtor is going to understand all of the builder's reputation, right? Because not every builder is created equal, right? I mean, you know, it typically comes down to 3 things, right? Price, quality, service. Typically, if you find builders that have the lowest price, they're sacrificing quality and service in most cases, right? And you having an unbiased opinion here is part of their selection process on which builder they want to choose, right? Also, if your clients decide that they want to build, you have to remember we're building this home with human hands, right? There's some do and there's some redo process. It can be a little bit ugly during the process, right? There's a point where it's a rough stage, and then there's a point where we fine tune it and make it a model quality home. So you can also, your realtor is also going to help guide you through the process when maybe a window's broken in the house or there's a hole in the wall or whatever. Those are things that a lot of people might overreact to a little bit. And that's where Melissa comes in and says, hey guys, you know what, this happens. It's okay, you know, this is part of the process, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, but those are really the main ones in my opinion. And most importantly, you know, the myth out there is, hey, does it cost me more if I have a realtor? The answer is no, right? I mean, the builder pays the commission for the realtor, so you're not paying anything extra. I may be jumping up a little ahead on the show sheet here, right? But with Highland Homes, we've developed a relationship over our 35 years with the realtor community. We were one of the first builders in the 80s to actually co-broker with realtors, right? We said, hey, realtors have people who want to buy houses. Why wouldn't we want a relationship with them, right? So we were one of the first to do that. And, you know, having that relationship is absolutely helpful throughout the whole process, you know, so you can confidently say, hey, these guys are going to take care of you, you know.
Yeah.
And if a builder tells you that, hey, I'll save you some money if you don't have a realtor, you might want to question why
So sketch.
they don't want you to be represented by somebody else. Just gets a little, just question that and get a little more, dig in a little deeper for sure.
Yeah. I think that a lot of, especially with first-time home buyers, I think that they're familiar with going into the leasing office and the clubhouse and meeting with that person. And sometimes it feels the same way whenever they're walking into a builder's model, and the process is completely different. The responsibility is completely different. And so you definitely want somebody on your side who works as your fiduciary and only cares about, you know, making sure that you are getting the best that you can possibly get. And you definitely want a realtor. And so we appreciate most builders, I find, are respectable, and you know, they value the relationship with the realtor. But there definitely are some, like, I've had my clients call me and tell me, so and so said that if I cancel my agreement with you, I'm going to save X amount of dollars. And then I pull comps and I'm like, okay, well, we should get that anyways, you know. So definitely I appreciate Highland's what's the word, relationship building with us.
That's a good point. I mean, you know, like at Highland Homes, we are customer focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I still represent Highland Homes,
mm-hmm.
you know, at the end of the day, right? So, you know, having somebody represent you and understand all the real estate language that's in a contract or whatever. I mean, you go to school for that stuff, you learn that stuff. Laymen don't have a clue what some of that stuff means, right?
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's jump to our really, we're on our third question now, because you did so good. You answered our second. No, you did so good. No, that's good. That's good. I love this back and forth kind of Q&A conversation style. So tell us a little bit about, you know, there are pros and cons to building and buying pre-existing. And one of the things that you have to take into consideration when you're thinking about building versus buying pre-existing is, what's your time frame? So talk to us a little bit about the process. If we found one of your, maybe you want to explain what a spec home is, if we found one of your spec homes, or if we are going to actually build, kind of go over that with us.
Absolutely. So at Highland Homes, we build spec or inventory homes. Those are homes that we start to build without somebody purchasing that up front, right? And as Melissa described, that may allow you to move into a home a little sooner. In 2020, we are having a record sales year, right? Congratulations, you're in the hottest housing market in the country. So inventory homes are a bit of a unicorn these days, right? You know, we're actually a little bit concerned about 2021 and not having enough land to build houses on.
Yeah.
So just a quick kind of overview of the market. We're having a record sales year. We sold more homes in our history, our 35-year history, and we've outpaced land, right? So, you know, it's the same in the pre-owned market, right? I mean, there's less than 2 months of inventory. So it's absolutely a seller's market. If you're thinking about buying a house, do not wait, right?
Yeah.
Because the developers understand the supply and demand issue, right? So when we get more land and we've been begging for it and the numbers show that we need it, the developers are obviously going to charge more for that piece of dirt that we're building on. And the cost ends up in the end user's lap, right? The homeowner. So we have inventory homes for different time frame needs. We can build homes as well. Right now, we're in that 5 to 7 month window. But if we go back just a few seconds to the supply and demand issue, not only is land an issue, but lumber, windows, appliances, you name it, we're having some challenges. So that's kind of a moving target right now. So a couple of things to consider is, in a normal market, yep, it's 5 to 7 months, but we're not in that normal market right now. So some patience is appreciated as well when we're building your new home. The way the process works is, if you're going to build a new Highland home here in Inspiration, I have 11 different home designs that we have currently. You select the home design, you select your lot, and with the fact that we're getting kind of toward the end of the phase, we're also in some restrictions on where we can build certain houses. So if you fall in love with a home design, say this is the one, there may only be 1 or 2 opportunities left to build that, because the developers won't allow us to build it within a certain distance, the same floor plan within a certain distance of each other, which benefits you guys. So you don't have a cookie cutter feel in the neighborhood. Yeah. Everything looks different driving down the street. So you would select your home design, you would select your lot. Up front, we need to select all those structural items, because we immediately start building plans, get permits, approvals, all those things. So you have to make sure that up front you have all those structural items locked in and determined, because we can't make any changes from that point. So once you've made all your structural options, within a few weeks you'll need to come out and personalize the interior of the house, your colors, your flooring, your cabinets. You know, that's one of the biggest benefits of buying a new home versus a used home, right? You're not buying someone else's style, you're making your own. That process starts with lot preparation, pouring the foundation, we start framing the house, we start getting all the mechanicals in, which is AC, plumbing, electrical, etc. When you purchase a home with us, you're going to receive a timeline from stage 0 to stage 10 on how the process works. At Highland Homes, we keep you involved in the process. Our construction team provides updates on which stage we're at currently, what's happening for the next stage, etc. Do you want to talk about building and contingencies at all, or save that for the next?
No, you know what, if you want to touch on it, because we'll have some buyers taking the course that are also moving up or moving down. So I think it would be fine to touch on it a little bit.
Well, what we're seeing is a lot of people who, well, let me rewind a little bit. We used to visit our homes. Now we live in them.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to school in them. Kids.
We're
working in them. You know, we're there all the time, right? So when we used to visit the house in the evenings to have dinner and go to bed, wake up, go to work, or Saturdays and Sundays, soccer, swim, etc., you're not at your house as much anymore. Now you're at home most of the time, right? So we're seeing a lot of people who are living in their current homes, and they're realizing, well, this does not work for us anymore. We can't live in this, right? So now they're saying, hey, let's build a new one that has the office and a school room and a media room and a nice outdoor area, because everything's closed, everything's shut down. Our entertainment's at home now too. So it's likely that you're going to have clients that have a home currently and want to build a new one. So the way the process works is we call it a contingency agreement. It's contingent upon you selling your home. And that basically gives you 90 to 120 days, depending on, the process there, to get your home under contract, right? Not to be out of your home necessarily, but to get your home under contract. That's the middle stage of our construction. Once we start installing the insulation and the sheetrock on the house is when that contingency period needs to be removed. That contingency needs to be removed from the contract. Something to consider, though, is that's going to require you to move twice, unless you are in the position where you can carry both homes and it's not contingent upon you selling your house to build a new one. So I hope I didn't get too...
No, you're good. And in that case too, sometimes instead of you having to move twice, we can do a longer lease back. So we have that option too, which I think we've done that before for clients together. You and I have. So there's that option too. Just depends on the buyer's situation also, if they're able to wait, 3 more months or so for you to be able to, for them to take possession. So
in a seller's market, you have more,
yes,
power that way too, where you can kind of dictate the terms a little bit more. So
makes it easier.
yes.
Awesome. Okay, so we kind of talked about the process and the timeline. So what are some of what would you tell us were your best practices in regards to builder incentives? Because there will be incentives with just the builder. There's incentives if you also use their lender. Like there are a couple different ways that clients can get incentives, and sometimes like they can get some really good incentives. What's the best way for them to really make that money kind of stretch?
So I'm gonna fill everybody in on a kind of one of the best kept secrets out there, right? So the misconception typically is when, okay, so to start off, every builder has some incentives, right? Hey, you have X amount of dollars that you can use towards options or upgrades, etc. Well, at Highland Homes, we don't want to constrain you to just use your incentives toward options and upgrades. Last year, well, this year even, about a third of my customers have decided that using their incentive money towards out-of-pocket expenses or PMI is really the best way to go. And I can kind of simplify that a little bit. Most people don't really understand that when they're buying a house, there's not only a sales price, but there's other costs included in that, right? So you have to consider the closing cost as the price of the house, right? So if the house is $350,000 and there's $10,000 in closing costs, that's really a $360,000 house, right? To simplify it. With interest rates being below 3%, historically low interest rates, it's crazy. Like I never thought we'd get here, to be honest with you.
So low.
The rule of thumb is for every 1,000 that you finance, it's about $5 a month, right? Depending on your credit scores and what rates you get, etc. So if you financed, or like a $10,000 discount equates to about $50 a month savings on a payment. Because at the end of the day, you're not necessarily concerned as much about the sales price as you are about how much am I writing that mortgage payment out every month, right? What's the biggest concern your clients typically have? Monthly payment, right? What am I spending every month? And a common misconception is after you've talked to the mortgage loan officer, a lot of customers think, hey, I'm approved for a certain dollar amount, but you're really approved for a mortgage payment, because they base that off of your income, your debt, and then what the final payment's going to be. It's called a debt to income ratio. I won't bore you with all those details. So to sum it up, most of my customers that do not have a 20% down payment, because I'm seeing that most people don't, right? I mean, most people don't have it unless they're selling a house that has a ton of equity in it and they roll into the new one.
Right.
What they're doing with their incentive money is they are buying out the PMI, okay, the mortgage insurance. And what mortgage insurance allows you to do, it allows you to buy a home without that 20% down payment. And that is a protection for the lender or the bank or wherever the money is coming from if you happen to default on the loan, right? They don't pay that for you. You have to pay that extra insurance. It's kind of like, wait a minute, I'm paying you the insurance to protect you, but yeah, because you don't have a 20% down payment and they're loaning you a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So the little known secret, I'm finally getting there, is what's called a single paid premium. A lot of people assume that if you don't have a 20% down payment, that you have to make a monthly PMI, premium, right? But you can actually buy that all out up front. So your clients that have good credit, typically about $7,000 to buy it out up front. So if the builder has $10,000 in incentives, that $10,000 off the price is about $50 a month in a payment, or you can take $7,000 of it, pay that PMI, and now you're saving about $175 a month on mortgage insurance, which is a better deal, right? $175 or the $50, and then you still have $3,000 left to, either pay for some out-of-pocket expenses, the closing costs, or the prepaid, or for options and upgrades, you know, however you want to use that extra money. One quick thing before we finish that, PMI is on an escalating scale based off of your credit scores. The higher the credit score, the lower the PMI. Same with the out-of-pocket single paid premium. The lower the credit scores, the more cost there is to buy out that PMI. So that's going to be on a case-by-case basis. But typically, with good credit, it's about $7,000 for a single paid premium, or roughly $175 a month in the price point that I sell it.
Yeah, I think that's where it's really important. You know, we've been through some of our lender videos where we've talked about PMI and how much do you need to put down and that type of thing. And I think, you know, in those videos, we talked a lot about, if you remember, the loan consultation and how important it is to have that conversation with the lender. And I think that's also why it's really important to work with a realtor who knows your situation, knows your end goal, and can communicate that with, you know, you, and if you're using the builder's lender or whomever you're using, that you guys can really have that same kind of consulting relationship to get them where they need to be, because it might not make sense for them to use all of that money in cosmetic upgrades in the house, because they could do tile in 2 years if they're saving $175 a month in their mortgage payment. You know, it would put them in a better position there. So I think that's where the kind of consulting relationship is really important that you have between your realtor, your builder rep, and your lender too.
And you can take advantage of that PMI buyout with as little as 5% down.
Yeah.
Right. So the rule is it has to be a conventional loan. You can't do that on an FHA loan.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So tell me a little bit about like, what are our inspection options? We've gone over general inspections in prior videos. What are our inspection options with a builder?
That's a good question as well. So again, this is a home built by human hands, right? Highland Homes has reputation for quality and service.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we're perfect, right? However, we stand behind our product. So there are some builders out there that will kind of discourage you from doing that. Like, you don't need it. It's a new home. Don't worry about it. Or, hey, do it after you move in, you know, in like the 10th or 11th month, because you get a 12-year warranty. Do it later, right? My thought is what's the cost? About $500, Melissa? Right. So $500 for you to have some peace of mind. Just do the final inspection, right? At Highland Homes, we don't have anything to hide. We're a People's Choice Builder of the Year for a reason, and we actually encourage that. And a lot of times when people say, hey, tell me why Highland is so awesome, you know, I can certainly give you my Highland spiel, right? But what I typically do is I refer back and say, hey, you know what, talk to your realtor. Ask your realtor about our reputation. Ask the home inspectors about what it looks like when they inspect a Highland home versus XYZ builder. Okay. You know, that you guys are like our marketing department, you know? So I think it's do it up front. Even if you don't buy a Highland home, do it up front, because builder X is more likely to repair or replace items before you take possession of the house than after you've moved in. Okay, so if they tell you, hey, wait, it's no big deal, right? Then they put you off potentially with warranty calls, and it just it's an imposition on your life after you've moved all your furniture in to have somebody come in your home and do repairs. Right. You can also do phase inspections. I mean, the jury is out. My opinion is I think the extra phase inspections are probably not necessary, because we have to go through specific inspections as well prior to pouring the foundation, etc. What are those? Typically around $900, $1,000 or so to do like
if you do
all the
like,
phase inspections.
yeah, the entire thing where somebody comes out and watches the foundation be poured, and then the pre-drywall, and then the final. Those are usually around like $1,000. I do like the pre-drywall because it can see things behind the sheetrock that I think
Right.
might get missed. I don't usually. I mean, we just finished one out in Inspiration, and I think we maybe had like 3 or 4 minor things come up, but it gave the buyer the peace of mind that the things that I can't see once drywall's up, we're good, we're taken care of. So I think that gave them a lot of peace of mind. I have had buyers who have wanted the inspector to watch the slab be poured, and that gave them reassurance and peace of mind. And if that's something that you want, we definitely can connect you with those people. But I think I like for my clients to at minimum do the pre-drywall and then to do the final inspection. And then, I always encourage at month 10 or 11 to do it again, if you want to, and maximize your home warranty. But yeah, they, some of the phase ones, coordinating with so many people, it does get a little hectic. So
You brought up a good point about the foundation pour.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've worked for several other builders in the past, and at Highland Homes, we take some things very serious, right? The most important part of building your house is that foundation, especially in North Texas, right? The soil is unstable. Our construction team is required to be on site when that concrete is being poured into the foundation, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong there.
Yeah.
We're the only builder that I know of that requires that, and it's pretty serious. I mean, it's a fireable offense. Like if the construction manager is not on site when that's being poured, that could be the end of their tenure here at Highland Homes. That's how serious we take it, right? And we take it a step further. We do a soil test on every single lot, right? Where other builders will put the same foundation on every lot in the neighborhood. Ours is based off of the soils, the home design, et cetera, and we have an engineer determine how to build that foundation.
Yeah, I think we've even closed one together where I think the soil determined that it needed to be a piered foundation, and it was done at no extra charge to our buyers, and it gave them a better foundation given the area that their home was being built in. So that's a big deal, and those are questions that I think need to be asked whenever you're picking your builder.
Yeah, so sometimes people will question and say, hey, or they may even ask you, Melissa, they may say, hey, okay, I really like Highland Homes, but they're a little bit more expensive than Builder X, right? Well, we just kind of outlined a couple of reasons why, right? The soil test, it costs money, right? To send that to an engineer, right? Those piers going into a slab foundation, typically when you hear about people putting piers in a foundation, it's after they've had a failure in their existing home, right?
Yeah.
Well, putting those piers in isn't cheap, right? So we're doing that up front. There's some cost involved, right? So if you're going to get the best quality and have the best service, the costs are going to be a little bit more. We put a lot more up front into our lot prep than pretty much any other builder in DFW does.
Yeah. And I think not that this is a Highland specific video, but I do find that builders like you are a little bit more expensive, but your base is different than Builder X's base too. And it's really important whenever you're comparing builders to find out, okay, well, what is your base here and what's your base there? And making sure that you are comparing apples to apples, because I think a lot of times people get in because it's, a more affordable price, and they're not necessarily getting that good, you know what I mean? They're not getting that value. So I think that it's important for them to, compare what you're getting and kind of what their standard is, just like you would when you were, if you're buying a car, you're going to go and you're going to compare what standard in this vehicle, and compare the two. So so tell me a little bit about what should we consider, this is our last question, what should we consider whenever we're going out to visit properties, when we're researching properties online? What are some things that we should really consider? You know, we've talked about like what you said with the foundations and the construction requirements, but what else should we be looking for, and what should we look out for also?
Well, again, you know, we're in the hottest housing market in the country, which means you've got pretty much any builder you want to choose from, right? There's a lot of builders out there. And, you know, you've seen, you know this, you've been in the business, right? People are kind of eliminating properties or builders, et cetera, right? So once you've determined kind of where you want to live, right? Got to kind of funnel out a little bit. Area is most important. What's the first thing they teach you in real estate class?
Location.
Right? So, hey, I want to live in the Wiley area, right? Great. Now, okay, what's so awesome about inspiration in the Wiley area? Why would you want to live here, right? And you say, okay, Melissa, we want to live in Wiley, and we definitely love inspiration. Well, in my neighborhood, there's 7 different builders to choose from. Lots of different price points, lots of different business models, et cetera. Once you've narrowed it down to, you know, 2 or 3 builders, now this is where you want to do some research, right? You've narrowed it down. And I'm amazed by how many people will build a brand new home and do very little research or ask the tough questions, right? You've narrowed it down to 2 or 3. Talk to your realtor, right, about their reputation, quality, and service. There's some websites out there that have great content about, you know, from real homeowners, their reviews. Google the builder in that specific neighborhood, right? So you said, hey, I like Highland and 2 other builders in the neighborhood. Google Highland Homes and Inspiration. Google Builder X at Inspiration. And what that's going to do now is that's going to zero in on the service and the construction process in that specific neighborhood. Because you and I both know the quality and the service is only as good as the construction manager and the salesperson on site.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
they need to be on our team.
Yeah. You're not only buying a home, you're buying a company too. And that company may have great reviews, but they may have that one area where the salesperson and the construction manager are just like, whatever, you know, they're okay. Not here though, by the way. So those are some things that kind of narrow that down. And you know what I recommend? A lot of times, especially if you haven't built a house before, request to interview the construction manager, the guy who's building your house, right? Hey, I mean, he's going to be the one you're talking to for the next 6 months while we're building the house. And there's a you know, a comfort level that you want to have with that specific person too. How long have they been building homes? Right? You know, when people come to Highland Homes, they don't leave. You know, our project manager in this community has been with us for 14 years. You know, and that means a lot, right? I've worked for builders before where I had many construction managers come and go within a 12-month period. And that continuity is, you can't put a price on it. It's priceless, right? So interview the salesperson, interview the construction manager, drive through the neighborhood and stop by and talk to people who live in the neighborhood. Say, hey, what builder did you use? How was your experience, right? Make sure that you're getting that information to understand the value and what company you're buying into.
Yeah. And, you know, whenever you talk about interviewing the construction manager, you know, I've been one of the jobs that myself and my assistant, every single week, we're touching, if you're building new construction or pre-existing home, we're reaching out to lender, title, and if you're buying pre-existing, a co-op agent, so the other agent on the other side, or if you're building, we're chatting with either the sales rep or more than likely the construction manager once a week. And I was always really happy with how Highland Homes and a lot of the more notable builders, really good about that good communication between the construction manager and the client. And, we always have encouraged our clients, go walk the property, know that it's not going to be perfect all the time. It's not going to be perfect all the time. But if there is something that's wrong, bring it to my attention so then I can reach out to the construction manager and get a resolution, because like you said, it is built by human hands, and I think sometimes people don't want to like step on any toes, but it's your home, and we want to make
Yeah.
sure that like we want to make sure that you're totally comfortable with the process. And anytime I've ever brought things to you guys, which hasn't been that often, but you guys have always done an excellent job. And so I really like to empower our buyers, like go, walk it, see what's going on. I drive by at least once a week. So it's part of buying new construction. I think it's important to have that really good dialogue with the sales rep and the construction manager. So I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And unfortunately, there are some builders out there that are just about volume and units, right? So when you talk to your friends and family who built a house, it's rare to have somebody say, "Oh my God, it was such an amazing experience. I would totally build a house."
Mm-hmm.
Usually you get the, "Oh man, I'll never do that. Building a home is such a nightmare," right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get that, but it doesn't really have to be.
No.
It depends on the business model and the philosophy of that company. Our founders, Jean Ann and Rod, brother and sister. Rod took $40,000 out of his 401k. Jean Ann was actually a new home sales counselor for other builders back in the 80s. And she went to Rod and said, "Hey man, like these builders are only really about the bottom line. Let's start a company where we can focus on quality and service, and let's see how that works." Right. So from our inception, that's been our business model. And then a few years ago, when Jean Ann and Rod are deciding what their exit strategy is out of the business, they had a choice of selling, right, to a national builder, or keeping those core values in-house. So we are now employee owned. Jean Ann is still very involved in the process. Yes. Matter of fact, she signs off on every new home design before we roll it out to anybody else. She walks all those still to this day. But what I'm trying to get to is that we've started this from the beginning, and we have a dedication to being customer focused. Still as we're employee owned.
Awesome. Well, Jarrod, that's all that I had for you. Do you feel like, is there anything else you feel like we need to touch on, or do you feel like we covered kind of the basics of new construction 101?
Well, I guess if you don't mind, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Right. So when you're initially, meeting with a new client, and you probably bring up new construction because you sell a lot of new homes, right? That's part of the process. Like, okay, we have MLS for all the pre-owned, and hey, what are your thoughts on new construction? What are some of the things that you hear? What are some of the negative things that you hear about, buying a new home versus a pre-owned home?
Yeah. So, a lot of what I hear is the cookie cutter, which there are builders who I think typically they're in kind of that lower price point that you are moving into a very cookie cutter neighborhood. So I hear a lot of the cookie cutter neighborhood comments, and not wanting a tiny yard. However, there are lots of opportunities where you could take two lots that are the same size but are shaped differently and still get an awesome yard. And as long as you're moving into a good community, I think that you're less likely to have that cookie cutter feel, because especially when I drive through Inspiration, I feel like I'm driving through more custom homes. I don't have that cookie cutter feel. You guys are pretty good about changing up brick style and changing up exterior style so nobody's identical. That's what I get. And then, you know, people who want to be in immediately and there's no spec available, well, you got to build. That's
Right.
part of new construction. But that's really, that would be probably my top three things would be time, and then going through the, you know, kind of aesthetics of the community. However, I
And
think that a lot of the amenities nowadays in some of the newer communities outweigh the kind of cons.
has the perception shifted from, I can't really afford new homes, they're too expensive? Has that changed like recently based off of like supply and demand? I mean, is it about the same now?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's about the
Okay.
same. And then you guys are able to offer more incentives than if we were going to go buy a pre-existing home, right? Especially if somebody is wanting something newer, they're likely going to be buying in one of those communities, and a seller can't often, I mean, rarely can a seller offer what Highland can offer in regards to incentive. So yeah, I think that the level of entry for you guys has gotten a lot easier because I feel like our prices are starting to kind of match up, and with the incentives that people get with new construction, I think it just makes more sense for a lot of people.
Yeah, there are pros and cons to both,
Mm-hmm.
right? So some of the things that I hear about, some negative things about new construction is, you know, the neighborhoods are just kind of sterile. There's no character, there's no nature, right? But you're seeing more and more of these master plan communities not only have the amenities that are amazing, but they're built up, like in our case, right next to Lake Levant,
Yeah.
and there's protected federal property and natural trees and space between each villages, so you can get a brand new home that's much more efficient. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
you're saving on your operating costs, right? And that's something that I see a lot of people don't consider, or don't realize, is there's more than just, or buying a home is more than just about the mortgage payment,
Yeah.
right? There's operating costs, your electric, your utilities, replacing a fence, an AC unit, a water heater, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when you're buying a pre-owned home. So even if you get an inspection, that AC unit may only last another year or two, right?
Yeah.
And then there's several $1,000s that you're spending there. When you buy a new home, you shouldn't have to worry about it for the first 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
And what's the average that people live in a home now in DFW? Maybe 6, 7 years.
Yeah. I think the
Is that
average
about
is
right?
7 now. Yeah. It's, yeah.
You can buy a brand new home, live in it 7 years, and never have to replace anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? So all you have to do when you buy the brand new home is put some window coverings on it, move your furniture in, and bring your washer, dryer, and fridge.
Yep.
That's it. Everything else is
Easy.
there, you know?
Yep. And there's a warranty. There's a couple warranties.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Jarrod, well, thank you so much for taking the
Cool.
time to educate us. And we hope to see you out at Inspiration soon. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. See you later.